The cruel punishment. The desert stretched far and wide, empty and cruel. The sun burned down without mercy. Its light was so strong that even the sand seemed to scream. In the middle of that dry land, a young alien girl was trapped, her body buried up to her neck in the ground, her skin blistered from the heat, her lips cracked, her eyes half closed from pain and thirst. Her name was Lyra. She was small for her kind, delicate, with silver blue skin and eyes that once held dreams, but now those eyes were filled only with fear. Her people had buried her there, her own village, her own family. They left her to die slowly, not by sword or fire, but by the sun and the crawling insects of the desert. Why? Because she was sterile, unable to give birth. In her tribe, a woman who could not give children was called broken, useless, worse than dead. For years, she lived with whispers behind her back, with mocking eyes following her. She had prayed, begged the stars for mercy. But when her secret was known, the elders ordered the cruel punishment. They dragged her to the edge of the village in front of all. Children watched, laughing. Some threw pebbles at her face while the elders chanted, "The barren one shall return to the dust. The barren one shall feed the desert." Their voices echoed as strong hands pushed her down into the pit. The sand was piled over her body until only her head remained. The pain of being trapped was nothing compared to the pain in her heart. She wanted to scream, to curse them, but her voice was too dry. Her throat burned like fire. She could only whisper inside her head, "Why am I hated for what I cannot control? Why must I die for something not my fault?" Hours passed. The sun climbed higher. Her face turned red, then purple. Sweat dried before it could fall. Small desert beetles crawled near her cheeks. One even bit at her ear, but she could know. "To move away!" She cried, silent tears that left trails in the dust on her face. The villagers left her, laughing as they walked back to their homes. To them, she was already dead. No one would come to help. That was the rule. Whoever touched the punished one would also face death. But fate was strange. In the distance, footsteps echoed against the sand. Heavy, steady, unlike the light steps of her people. She opened her swollen eyes. Through the heat haze, she saw a tall figure moving closer. His shape was broad, shoulders wide. His skin was not blue like hers, but warm human brown. A human in this land? Behind him walked a small child, a little girl, skipping as she held his hand. The girl's laugh was soft, like water flowing, so different from the harsh desert silence. The man stopped when he saw Lyra's head sticking out of the ground. His eyes narrowed, his jaw tightened. He looked around, seeing no one else, only the endless sand. He stepped closer, his shadow falling over Lyra's face, blocking the burning sun. For a moment, Lyra thought this was a dream. Maybe her dying mind created an image of a savior. But then she heard his deep voice, rough yet filled with shock. "What is this? Who would bury someone alive like this?" His daughter gasped, hiding behind his leg. "Papa, is she alive?" Lyra's lips trembled. She tried to speak, but no sound came, only a faint rasp. Her eyes begged, "Help me, please." The man bent down on one knee. He brushed away the dry sand from her face. His hand was calloused, strong but gentle. Lyra felt the touch of kindness for the first time in years. "Don't worry," he said softly. "I'll get you out. Hold on." His words struck her heart like thunder. No one had spoken kindly to her for so long. Her people had only cursed, only hated. But this stranger, this human man, did not look at her with disgust. He looked at her with pity and anger. He began to dig, his hands shoving sand aside. His daughter even bent down, helping with her tiny fingers. Lyra could hardly believe it. Tears ran from her eyes, not just from pain, but from something else. Hope. The desert wind blew hot against their backs. Time seemed to slow. Lyra's breath came in short gasps as her chest slowly began to rise free from the sand. Every grain that fell away was like a chain breaking, but deep in her heart, she knew. If her people saw this, if the elders found out, the human and his daughter would also face punishment. Still, they kept digging, not afraid, not stopping. For the first time, Lyra felt that maybe her story was not ending in the desert. Maybe it was just beginning. And as the last of the sand loosened from her arms, her weak body slumped forward into the stranger's arms. His strong hands caught her before she hit the ground. His daughter cried, "Papa, she's alive." The man lifted his gaze to the horizon, his face stern, his jaw hard. He knew this act had consequences, but he also knew one thing. No innocent should ever be left to die like this. The stranger's hands. The human man held the alien girl's weak body in his arms. She was so light it felt as if the desert had already stolen most of her strength. Her head rested against his shoulder, her breath shallow. Each rise of her chest was a battle. His daughter looked up with wide, worried eyes, clutching his shirt. "Papa, will she die?" the little girl asked in a trembling voice. The man's jaw tightened. He looked at the alien girl's cracked lips, her blistered skin, and her trembling eyelids. She was close to death, but not gone yet. He shook his head firmly. "Not if I can help it." He placed her gently on the ground, kneeling beside her. From a small leather pouch at his side, he took out a water flask. He opened the lid, the scent of cool water filling the air. He lifted her head carefully, tilting the flask so drops touched her lips. At first nothing happened. Her lips barely moved, but then, her tongue touched the water, and suddenly her throat worked. She swallowed, a faint sound escaping her. A desperate, broken gasp. The little girl's face brightened. "She's drinking." The man poured more, slowly, carefully, until her cracked lips glistened and her breath grew stronger. Lyra's eyes fluttered open, staring up at the human's face. For a moment, she could not believe what she was seeing. His dark hair was streaked with dust, his eyes tired yet burning with determination. She had never seen eyes like that, eyes that carried loss, but also strength. "Can you hear me?" he asked gently. His voice was deep, steady. She blinked once, weakly. He smiled. "Good. You'll be safe now." Safe. The word echoed inside her mind like an impossible dream. She had never known safety, not in her village, not in her family, but in this stranger's hands. For the first time, she felt it. The man pulled his cloak from his shoulder and wrapped it around her small body, shielding her from the desert wind. His daughter helped, tugging the cloth gently. Her hands were small and soft, touching Lyra's arms without fear. "What's your name?" the man asked as he secured the cloak. Her voice cracked when she tried to speak. She had not spoken since the punishment began. Still, she forced the whisper out. Lyra." He nodded. "Lyra, I'm Jaren." He placed a hand on his daughter's shoulder. "This is my child, Amara." The little girl smiled shyly, brushing dust from Lyra's cheek with her small fingers. "You don't have to be scared. I'll help take care of you." Those words struck harder than the sun's fire. No one had ever said such a thing to her before. No one had ever offered care. But even as the warmth of their kindness surrounded her, fear returned. Her eyes darted toward the horizon, toward the village hidden beyond the dunes. She knew what her people would do if they discovered. At this, she grabbed Jaren's arm weakly, shaking her head. "No, you can't. They will kill you." Taken home. The sound of the horn still echoed in the desert, but Jaren did not stop. He carried Lyra in his arms as if she was as fragile as glass. Amara walked close to his side, sometimes holding his cloak, sometimes looking behind nervously. Lyra's heart pounded with fear. Every step away from the desert pit felt like a stolen breath. She whispered weakly, "You must leave me. They will come. They will kill you for helping me." Jaren's arms tightened around her. His voice was calm but firm. "I've buried enough of my loved ones. I will not let you join them. Not today." His words confused her, but she did not have the strength to ask. She only closed her eyes and let herself be carried. For the first time, she was not fighting against the sand. For the first time, someone else was carrying her weight. After hours of walking, the harsh desert changed into softer land. Green patches appeared and the air grew cooler. Soon, a small wooden house stood at the edge of a dry forest. It was simple, built with stone and timber, but strong. Smoke rose gently from its chimney. "This is our home," Amara said proudly, skipping forward. She ran to the door, opening it wide. "Papa, hurry, let's bring her in." Inside, the house smelled of wood fire and bread. The room was small but warm, with a table, 2 chairs, and a bed in the corner. A carved figure of a woman stood on the shelf, covered in dust. Jaren placed Lyra carefully on the bed. She sank into the blanket, feeling its softness under her broken body. Tears filled her eyes, not from pain, but from shock. No one had ever given her a bed before. Her people had called her useless, unwanted. But here, in a stranger's house, she was treated as if she mattered. Amara brought a small bowl of soup, steaming and fragrant. She held the spoon carefully and touched it to Lyra's lips. "Eat. It will make you strong," she said, her gisimsor. Voice bright and full of care, Lyra hesitated, trembling. Her kind had never shared food with her so gently. Slowly, she opened her mouth. The taste was warm, salty, rich with herbs. Her body shivered as if it had forgotten what kindness tasted like. "Good," Jaren said quietly, watching her. "You'll heal, but it will take time." Lyra's eyes moved to him. Her voice was still weak, but she forced the words. "Why? Why are you doing this? I am nothing. I am broken." Jaren's expression grew dark. His gaze drifted to the wooden figure of the woman on the shelf. He took a long breath before answering. "Because once, someone I loved was also left to die. I could not save her. I buried her with my own hands. I will not make the same mistake again." The silence grew heavy. Lyra realized then, he was a widower. The pain in his voice was the pain of a man who had lost everything. His kindness to her was not just pity. It was a promise to himself, a vow not to fail again. Amara, too young to understand the depth of his pain, climbed onto the bed beside Lyra and hugged her arm. "You don't have to cry anymore," she whispered. "You are with us now." Lyra froze. Her people had never touched her like this, never hugged her, never spoken as if she belonged anywhere. Her throat tightened, and before she could stop herself, silent tears fell down her cheeks. But outside the house, shadows moved. The villagers had followed the trail. They stood at the edge of the forest, torches burning in their hands, their voices low and angry. "The Barren One lives. The human has taken her." Inside, Lyra's sharp ears caught the sound. She gripped Jaren's sleeve, whispering with fear. "They are here. They will burn your house. They will kill us all." Jaren stood, his face like stone. He reached for the iron blade hanging by the door. Its edge was dull, but his hands were strong. "Let them come," he said coldly. Amara's small hand slipped into Lyra's. "Don't be scared. Papa always protects." The alien girl's heart broke and healed all at once. She wanted to believe those words. She wanted to trust this man, this child, this warmth that felt like family. But the roar outside grew louder, fists striking against the door, angry shouts demanding blood. Jaren looked at her one last time, his voice steady. "Stay inside. Protect Amara. Whatever happens, remember, you are not nothing. You are not broken." And with that, he stepped toward the door, shadows of fire and danger waiting just beyond. Lyra clutched the child's hand tighter, her fear mixed with something new, an unfamiliar fire inside her chest. For the first time, she did not want to die. For the first time, she wanted to fight to live. Whispers of rebellion. The night was not quiet. Outside Jaren's house, angry voices rose. The villagers had gathered with torches, their shadows stretched across the forest trees. Their words were sharp as blades. "The Barren One must return to the sand. No human can break our law. Drag her out. Let her die as she was meant to." Inside, Lyra sat trembling on the bed. Amara pressed against her side, clutching her hand tightly. The little girl whispered, "Don't be scared, Papa won't let them in." But her voice shook even as she spoke. Jaren stood by the door, his iron blade in hand. His body was tense, his eyes hard. He knew one wrong step could bring fire and death. Yet he also knew he would not surrender, not again. The door shook as fists pounded on it. A deep voice roared from outside. "Human, you break our ways. Hand her over now or burn with her." Jaren's jaw clenched. He called back, his voice steady like stone. "No law can justify burying an innocent alive. She stays here with me. If you want her, you'll have to come through me." The villagers shouted louder, but none dared break down the door. Not yet. Jaren was human, and humans were feared for their strength and stubborn will. Stories whispered of men who fought beasts barehanded, of men who would rather die than bow. Still, the crowd grew restless. Sparks of rebellion stirred not only outside, but inside hearts too. Some villagers whispered among themselves, "He is right. The punishment is cruel." Others hissed back, "Silence. To question the elders is death." Lyra heard them through the walls, her alien ears sharper than human ones. For the first time, she realized not everyone in her village wanted her dead. Some were afraid, trapped in silence, just as she had been. But fear gripped her again. She whispered to Jaren, "You cannot fight them all. There are too many. Please don't lose your life for me." He turned his head slightly, eyes meeting hers. In them, she saw no hesitation. "I've already lost enough. If I don't stand now, then I am nothing, and neither are you." Amara tugged at her father's cloak. "Papa, I'm scared." Jaren knelt and pulled his daughter close, pressing his forehead against hers. "Fear is normal, but bravery means protecting the ones we love. And I love you, Amara. I will not let anyone hurt you. or her. His eyes flicked toward Lyra, firm and unyielding. Lyra's breath caught. No one had ever included her in such words before. Or her. It was small, simple, but it shook her more than all the cruelty of her tribe. The pounding at the door grew weaker. Some villagers had begun to argue among themselves. "Why should we fear one human? Break the door," shouted one. But another hissed, "And face his blade? Remember what humans are capable of. Their rage is not like ours." Hours passed. The mob slowly faded. Their voices retreated into the night. Only the smell of smoke lingered in the air. Jaren did not lower his weapon until silence returned fully. Inside, the tension eased slightly, but not the danger. Lyra sat with her knees all to her chest, whispering, "They will come again. They will not stop." Jaren sheathed his blade, turning back toward her. "Then let them. Each time they come, they will see I will not bow. Each time they whisper, more of them will begin to question their own cruelty. That is how change begins." His words lit something inside her. She had lived her whole life believing she was worthless, believing her only fate was shame and death. But this man, a stranger, spoke as if she was worth fighting for, worth risking everything. Amara climbed into Lyra's lap, laying her head against her chest. "You're family now," she said sleepily. "Papa says family is who we protect." Then she drifted into sleep, her small breath soft against Lyra's skin. Lyra's arms trembled as she held the child. A warmth spread in her chest so powerful it almost hurt. Her people had called her barren, empty, broken, yet this little girl clung to her as if she were whole. Later that night, when Jaren finally sat down, the firelight flickered across his weary face. Lyra spoke, her voice shaking. "Why do you believe in me? Why risk your daughter, your life, for someone like me?" Jaren's eyes stared into the flames. His voice was low. "Because I once begged for help, and no one came. My wife, Amara's mother, she was sick. The villagers said she was cursed. They left us. They watched her fade. I swore that day, if I ever saw someone abandoned, I would never turn away." Lyra's chest ached. She whispered, "I'm sorry." He shook his head, finally meeting her eyes. "Don't be sorry for surviving. Be sorry only if you stop living when someone gives you a chance." His words burned into her, carving deep. For the first time, she wondered if her life could mean something, if she was more than what her people declared. But outside in the village, the elders sat in council, their voices harsh. "The human disobeys, he must be taught fear." The oldest one slammed his staff on the ground. "Tomorrow, we burn his house and bury them all." The whispers of rebellion had begun, but so had the storm of vengeance. And by dawn, Jaren's small home would become the battlefield of hope against cruelty, the daughter's bond. Morning sunlight crept through the cracks of the wooden house. The warmth touched Lyra's face, and for the first time in years, she woke in a bed instead of sand or stone. Her body was still weak, but her spirit felt different. She was alive, and someone wanted her alive. Beside her, Amara stirred. The little girl had fallen asleep in her arms the night before and refused to let go. Lyra looked down at her small face, soft and peaceful. The child's tiny hand still clutched her wrist as if afraid she would vanish in the night. When Amara's eyes opened, they lit up with a smile. "Good morning, Lyra," she chirped. Her voice was so full of warmth that Lyra's heart ached. No one had ever spoken her name like that. Not as an insult, not as a curse, but as a welcome. Lyra tried to smile back. "Good morning." Her voice was soft, cracked, but the girl clapped her hands as if it were the sweetest sound she had ever heard. "Papa made porridge," Amara announced proudly. "I told him you need strength, so he made extra just for you." She hopped off the bed, pulling Lyra's hand gently. "Come eat with us. You're family now." The word family struck like lightning in Lyra's chest. Her people had denied her that word. They had called her broken, unwanted, unworthy of love, yet this child spoke it as if it were the most natural truth in the world. At the table, Jaren served them bowls of porridge. His face was tired, shadows under his eyes. He had stayed awake long after the mob left, guarding them through the night. But when he saw Lyra sit beside Amara, he gave a small nod of approval. Amara dug her spoon into the porridge and leaned closer to Lyra. "You have to eat, even if it's not tasty. Papa says food gives courage," she whispered, pretending to share a great secret. Lyra chuckled weakly, a sound she hadn't made in years. She took a bite, the warm grains filling her stomach. It was simple food, but it tasted like life itself. After breakfast, Amara dragged her outside to see the small garden. The air was cool, the ground soft with green patches. Amara pointed to each plant with pride. This is bitterroot, this is sunberry, and these are the flowers Mama planted before she... Her voice trailed off, her small smile faltering. Lyra knelt down, brushing her fingers over the delicate petals of the flowers. They were pale white, glowing faintly in the sun. They are beautiful, she whispered. Amara nodded quickly, her smile returning. Papa says Mama's spirit lives in them, that's why we take care of them. Then she grabbed Lyra's hand suddenly. Will you help me water them? Please? For a moment, Lyra froze. Her people had never asked her to help, only ordered her, mocked her or pushed her aside. Slowly, she nodded. Yes, I will help. The joy in Amara's face was brighter than the sun. Together they poured water from a clay jug over the flowers. Lyra's heart softened with each drop. She felt as though she was giving life not only to the plants, but to herself. Later, inside the house, Amara climbed onto Lyra's lap with a small wooden toy. It was a carving of an animal, rough but loved. This was mine since I was little, she said. Now I want to share it with you, because you're my sister. Lyra's breath caught. The word sister broke through her heart like a blade and healed it at the same time. She wanted to protest, to say she was unworthy, but the child's innocent eyes silenced all doubt. Her arms wrapped around Amara tightly, holding her close. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she whispered, "Thank you, little sister." But while warmth grew inside, danger grew outside. In the village, the elders spread their command. By Nightfall, the human's house must burn, the barren one must die again. Fear silenced many, but whispers stirred. Some villagers asked, is the human truly wrong? Is the girl's life worth nothing? The seeds of rebellion spread quietly. Back at the house, Jaren sharpened his blade, his ears listening for distant voices. He watched the bond forming between Lyra and his daughter. His chest tightened with emotion. For years, Amara had grown up without a mother, with only his tired arms to protect her. But now, for the first time, she laughed like a child again. Still, he knew the price. He knew that bond might cost them everything. As night fell, Amara refused to leave Lyra's side. She clung to her arm tightly, whispering as sleep took her. Don't leave me. Promise you'll be here in the morning. Lyra stroked the girl's hair gently, her heart breaking. I promise, she whispered, though fear burned inside her, because she knew the villagers were coming again. Outside, Jaren stood in the dark, blade ready, eyes fixed on the horizon where torches began to glow once more. Inside, Lyra looked at the sleeping child in her arms and made a silent vow. If they come for me, I will not run. I will not let them hurt her or her father. For the first time in her life, she wanted to fight, not just for survival, but for family. The confrontation. The night air was heavy, carrying the smell of smoke. Jaren stood outside his small house, blade in hand, his eyes fixed on the horizon where flames flickered in the darkness. The villagers were coming, louder this time, stronger. Their chants carried through the trees. Burn the house, take the barren one, kill the traitor human. Inside, Lyra sat on the bed with Amara clinging to her. The child's small body shook with fear. Lyra wrapped her arms around her, whispering softly, Don't be afraid. Your father is strong. He will protect. Tuss. Yet inside her chest, fear twisted like a knife. The sound of boots grew closer. Torches lit the forest path. Soon the house was surrounded. Dozens of villagers stood outside, their eyes blazing with hate and fear. Some carried spears, others held flaming brands ready to burn. An elder stepped forward, his voice loud and cruel. Human, step aside, this is not your fight. The barren one is cursed. She belongs to the desert. Give her to us, and we will spare you and your child. Jaren's jaw tightened. His blade glinted in the firelight. His voice rang out like steel. She belongs to no one. She is alive. She stays here. If you want her, come and take her. The crowd roared in anger. Some shouted for fire, others for blood, but none moved forward yet. For behind Jaren's steady stance was the reputation of humans, creatures who did not break easily, creatures who fought like cornered wolves. Inside the house, Lyra's chest heaved. She could not let Jaren face them all alone. She tried to stand, her body still weak, but her spirit stronger than ever. Amara held her hand. Don't go. They'll hurt you. Lyra knelt, looking into the child's eyes. They already hurt me once. I will not let them hurt you too. She kissed Amara's forehead gently, then rose to her feet. Her legs shook, but she forced herself forward, step by step, until she stood behind Jaren at the doorway. When the villagers saw her, gasps spread through the crowd. They had expected her to cower inside, not to stand tall beside the human. Her hair hung loose, her silver-blue skin glowed faintly in the torchlight. Though thin and fragile, her eyes shone with fire. "She is cursed," one villager shouted, pointing. "She dares to stand as if she is whole." Lyra lifted her voice, hoarse but steady. "I was left to die because I could not give children. But is that all a life is worth? Do you call yourself strong when you bury your own alive? Or are you coward? Is afraid of what you cannot control?" The crowd murmured. Some lowered their torches uncertainly. Her words struck the hidden doubts in their hearts. For years they had obeyed without question, but now in the firelight, a broken girl defied them with nothing but her voice. The elder snarled, "Silence! She is nothing!" Jaren stepped forward, his blade raised. "She is not nothing. She is more human than any of you, and if you want her, you'll face me first." The tension snapped like a whip. A group of young men rushed forward, spears aimed at Jaren. He swung his blade, striking one spear aside. His other hand shoved an attacker back into the dirt. His movements were strong, controlled. Every strike carried the weight of a man who had lost too much to lose again. The villagers shouted in panic. Some fell back, others surged forward. Torches flew, one striking the side of the house. Flames began to lick the wooden walls. Smoke curled into the night sky. Inside, Amara cried, her small hands trying to beat out the fire with a cloth. Lyra ran back, grabbed a pot of water, and poured it over the flames. The fire hissed, but did not die fully. Another torch landed, sparks spreading. Lyra's heart raced. She could not fight like Jaren, but she could protect the child. She pulled Amara into her arms, shielding her from falling embers. "Stay behind me," she cried. Outside, Jaren fought with fury, his blade flashing in the firelight. He cut through spears, pushed men back. His arms bled from shallow cuts, but he did not fall. His roar echoed into the night, shaking even the bravest of the villagers, yet the numbers were too many. The mob pressed harder. Fire spread higher. The house crackled as flames climbed its walls. Smoke filled the air, choking, blinding. Lyra stepped outside, holding Amara tightly. Her voice broke through the chaos. "Enough! If you want me, then Camille! But leave them!" The crowd froze, murmurs rippling. Some lowered their weapons in shock. The elder's eyes burned with triumph. "Yes, give yourself and their lives may be spared." Jaren turned, his face fierce. "No, don't you dare!" But Lyra's eyes were steady, her body still trembling, yet her spirit unshaken. For the first time, she felt strength, not from being wanted as a mother, not from her tribe, but from being loved as herself. She raised her voice, shouting to the crowd, "If my life is worth so little, then why do you fear me so much? If I am nothing, why must you burn and kill to erase me?" Her words cut through the mob. Doubt spread faster than fire. Some dropped their torches, stepping back. Others looked away in shame. The whispers began. "She is right. She has done no harm." But the elder's rage grew. He lifted his staff high. "Silence her forever," he roared. At that moment, Jaren stood at her side, his blade dripping with sweat and blood, his arm wrapped around Lyra, pulling her and Amara close. His voice thundered, "You will not touch them. If you call me an enemy, then you call humanity an enemy, and humanity does not forgive." The villagers froze. Fear rippled through them. Humans were rare here, but stories of their vengeance were not. None dared to strike. Not now, not with his fire-filled eyes glaring into their souls. The flames on the house dimmed as the wind shifted. The mob, shaken, slowly began to retreat into the night. Torches fell into the dirt. The whispers of rebellion grew louder than the chants of hate. Lyra leaned against Jaren, her heart racing. Her body weak, but her spirit burning like the stars. For the first time, she was not the one buried, she was the one standing. And beside her stood a human who refused to let her fall, but deep inside she knew it was not over. The elders would return, stronger, crueler. The fight for her life and for this new family had only just begun, a new family. The night passed slowly after the villagers retreated. The smell of smoke still clung to the air. Jaren stood outside with his blade until the horizon began to glow with the first light of dawn. His arms ached, his body was cut and bruised, but he did not fall. He would not show weakness while danger still lingered. Inside the small house, Lyra sat awake with Amara in her arms. The little girl had cried herself to sleep, her small hands gripping Lyra's dress as if letting go would make her vanish. Lyra brushed her hair gently, her heart trembling with feelings she had never known before. When Jaren finally stepped in, his shoulders heavy with exhaustion, Lyra rose to meet him, Her eyes searched his face, lined with fatigue but burning with quiet fire. "You should rest," she whispered. "You cannot fight them again if you fall now." Jaren gave a tired smile, setting his blade aside. "I'll rest when I know you're safe." He looked at her, his voice firm. "They won't stop, you know that." Lyra lowered her gaze, her chest tight. "I know. They will keep coming until I am gone." She looked at Amara, sleeping peacefully, then whispered, "I should leave. If I go, they won't come after you or your daughter again." The words stabbed Jaren's chest. His hand slammed against the table. "No," he said sharply. "Don't ever say that. You are not a burden. You are not cursed. You are family now, and family is not abandoned." The force of his words made her chest burn. Her people had buried her, called her useless, but this man, this human, refused to let her go. Amara stirred awake, rubbing her eyes. She looked at them sleepily and whispered, "Papa? Lyra? Did the bad people go?" Jaren knelt beside her bed, brushing her hair back gently. "Yes, little one. They are gone. For now." Amara crawled into Lyra's lap, her small arms wrapping around her waist. "Then we're safe, right?" she asked softly, her eyes half closed. "We can stay together forever." The question broke the silence. Jaren looked at Lyra, his jaw tightening. He had lost a wife. He had lived years with only his daughter. And now, here was this fragile alien girl who had nothing, yet somehow she had filled the empty space in their lives. "Yes," Jaren said firmly, his eyes meeting Lyra's. "We will stay together, no matter what comes." Lyra's throat closed. She wanted to speak, but only tears fell. She bent her head over Amara's hair and whispered, "I promise, I will never leave." The day passed with quiet work. Jaren repaired the parts of the house burned by the torches. Lyra helped despite her weakness, carrying water, cleaning ash. Her hands were clumsy, but she refused to sit idle. Every nail Jaren hammered, every pot she washed, every laugh Amara gave. It felt like stitching together a new life piece by piece. But in the village, the elders met again, their pride wounded, their authority questioned. "The human makes us look weak," one snarled. "The barren one defies death itself. This cannot be allowed." Yet others hesitated, whispers spreading faster. The girl spoke truth. She harmed no one. Why should she die? The seeds of rebellion grew stronger. By evening, Jaren's home glowed with soft firelight. Amara sat between him and Lyra, drawing shapes in the dust with a stick. She looked up suddenly, her innocent eyes wide. "Can I call her Mama?" she asked. The silence was heavy. Lyra's heart stopped. Her hands trembled. She shook her head quickly. "No, I cannot. I am not worthy." But Amara pouted, her small hands gripping Lyra's arm. "But I love you. You take care of me. You stay with me. That's what a mama does." Tears blurred Lyra's vision. Jaren placed his hand over hers, his voice low but steady. "You don't have to be what others said you were. You don't have to be what your people decided. You can be who you choose." Lyra's breath shook. She looked at Amara's hopeful eyes, Jaren's steady gaze, and something inside her, something buried for years, finally broke free. I would like that," she whispered. "If you will have me." Amara squealed, hugging her tightly. "Then it's true. I have a mama now." Jaren's chest tightened. He reached out, pulling them both into his arms. His voice cracked as he whispered, "Then we are a family at last." The night outside was uncertain. The elders still plotted, the villagers still whispered. But inside that small wooden house, something greater than fear had taken root. A widowed father, a lonely daughter, and an abandoned alien girl who once was buried to die. Together, they had found what they had all lost, belonging. And though storms would come again, though danger might rise tomorrow, they would face it not as strangers, not as broken souls, but as one family. Lyra closed her eyes, holding Amara close, and whispered into the quiet, "I thought my life was over, but you dug me free. You gave me back more than life. You gave me home." Outside, the stars glittered above the desert, eternal witnesses to the moment a human, his child, and a once-forgotten alien girl forged a bond that no cruelty could bury.